The face you show the world, the words you've learned to say, they are reflections, polished by years of other people's eyes. Parents, teachers, strangers. Each one handed you a shard of a mirror, shaping who you thought you had to be. Tonight we step beyond that glass, gently, without blame. We look for the self that doesn't need an audience, the self that breathes quietly in the dark, unshaped by others' expectations. Because who you were trained to be is only a mask, and somewhere beneath it, the true self waits, patient and whole. In the quiet folds of our lives, let us embark upon an exploration of the shadowy realm of gaslighting, a subtle poison that murmurs untruths until our realities feel fragile and distant. Picture this manipulation as fine, hidden threads, weaving doubt into the fabric of your perception, quietly unravelling the trust you once had in your own inner voice. It begins with soft whispers, casual dismissals that suggest your memories, your feelings, might be mistaken. Slowly, the groundwork of your world is reshaped until even your own thoughts become a labyrinth of distorted echoes, questioning their own authenticity. This beguiling descent into uncertainty is not abrupt. It is a gradual descent presented as concern or misunderstanding. The artfulness of gaslighting lies in its delicate approach, the way it wraps uncertainty in familiarity, making you tread the precipice of your own sanity. Trust, often the bedrock of close relationships, whether they be romantic, familial, or professional, becomes the very tool of your unmooring. In such shadows, reality twists subtly, and those you hold dear can become both the architects of your confusion and, paradoxically, the oases you seek for clarity. Doubt, when wielded by a gaslighter, bends to their will, transforming into a force that corrodes your self-assurance. When one whom you trust contradicts your experiences time and again, this doubt worms its way through your resilience. From this place, your world becomes reliant on their approval to maintain shape, and hence the dance of seeking constant reassurance begins. It's a slow erosion, turning your inner truth into a dependency, as perception itself is questioned by protective instinct. The most profound harm inflicted lies in the shattering of your faith in yourself. This manipulation places a mirror before every choice you make, casting it in a light that questions your worth and instincts. As trust deteriorates, fractures run deeply across your conscience, creating a reality where decisions are fraught with hesitation and second guesses. In this altered landscape, daily choices flit with the shadows of irrational fears. Fears not inherent but planted and nurtured by the external influences of deceit. Yet hope glimmers within contradictions, those small signals that something is amiss. As these inconsistencies arise, they serve as silent guides out of the fog, leading you back to a world crafted by your authentic perception. By paying heed to the dissonance between words and actions, you unravel the skein of manipulation. Each detected contradiction is a step upon a path back to yourself, away from confusion and toward clarity. Indeed, reclaiming one's reality blossoms from within, as you summon the strength to affirm your inner authority. This journey does not necessarily demand confrontation. Rather, it implores a silent rebellion within. It is the gentle reaffirmation that your reality is valid, your experience is worthy of respect. As you steadfastly hold to this belief and silence those internal skeptics, what unfolds is a tapestry richer, more resilient against the incursion of doubt. Resistance against the subtle poison requires boundaries, delicate yet definitive. boundaries that shield perception from belittlement and strengthen the resolve of personal truth. These defined borders are declarations, attesting that within these lines your reality stands inviolate. These protective measures are ripples across the psyche, each one expanding over time, enforcing and solidifying autonomy and self-worth. In nurturing oneself, compassion emerges as the salve for wounds incurred in shadowed places. It is in embracing the fullness of your journey, with gentle understanding that the healing light filters through. Where self-blame once stood, self-kindness now resides, illuminating the path to rediscovery. One that cherishes imperfections as intrinsic elegance. Self-compassion transforms your core from a place of vulnerability to one of emerging strength. Let trusted voices into this journey, voices that resonate with truth, that offer clarity amid distortion. Trusted companions become mirrors reflecting reality against the backdrop of doubt-encrusted perception. By anchoring in healthy affirmation and community, the fog of manipulation clears, and with it, the resounding echo of your beliefs. Forge, too, an inner certainty, an unwavering discernment of your own reality. Engage in nourishing practices that clarify and reaffirm your truth. Through reflection and contemplation, reinforce the essence of who you are, untainted by outside influence. With this practice, you begin to rebuild, creating a steadfast inner compass capable of navigating even the most turbulent seas with gentle resolve and light. The journey to reclaim reality emerges as a profound act of courage, a path threaded with awareness and healing. As you step forward, each movement echoes the strength required to disentangle from shadows, weaving yourself anew in vibrant threads of authenticity. This is not merely an act of self-assertion, but a grand return to self, a resurrection of authenticity, and a testament to the timeless resilience of your spirit. In the hushed corners of our mind, criticism lurks like a shadowy whisper, weaving threads of doubt and unease. It begins as a seemingly gentle nudge, a beacon of potential improvement. Yet, when wielded without care, it transmutes into a corrosive force, leaving indelible marks on the spirit. In its perpetual presence, this voice becomes a constant refrain, echoing with an insistence that one must always be more, always be better. It's a relentless cycle, unfurling quietly yet firmly, convincing that adequacy is always just out of reach. The insidiousness of criticism settles in gradually, like the slow encroachment of twilight. It teaches us to seek validation from the outside, shifting our compass from internal assurance to external affirmation, leaving our self-worth tethered precariously on the opinions of others. As the voice of self-chastisement grows louder, it eclipses the softer tones of self-compassion, spiraling into a realm of self-doubt where personal growth is stifled, forever masked in the shadows of not-enoughness. Below the conscious mind, criticism extends deeper roots, entwining itself with the very fabric of our being. It aligns with what Carl Jung might call conditions of worth, establishing a paradigm where love and acceptance are rewards contingent upon meeting external standards. In this realm, self-esteem becomes conditional, a mirage dependent on others' critiques and approval, fostering a distorted self-image tinged with imposter syndrome. Such tyranny does not only hinder personal serenity, but taints how we connect with others, casting a critical lens onto interactions, breeding cycles of projection where judgment begets judgment. The origins of this critical urge reach back through time, often taking seed in our formative years. Perhaps it was woven into the familial tapestry, where guardians, when with intentions subtly misplaced, employed criticism as a tool of discipline or motivation. These echoes reverberate into adulthood, manifesting in the relentless pursuit of perfection driven by an ideal, a myth perpetuated by society's ceaseless demands and unattainable standards. Yet even amidst this storm of criticism, a quiet revolution can begin within. Reclaiming the narrative of self involves a deliberate embrace of internal, sovereignty, akin to harnessing the dawn's first light to dispel the night. Here, discernment becomes the guiding star, a conscious choice to manage the sway of external voices. Viktor Frankl reminds us of the sacred space between stimulus and response, a moment where freedom truly resides. It is in this stillness that strength is born, allowing us to transform criticism into a catalyst for introspection, rather than a relentless force of oppression. Such a transformation begins by nurturing a compassionate inner dialogue. Imagine the voice of criticism being drowned out by a chorus of gentle affirmations, speaking with the warmth of an old friend. Self-compassion, as shared by psychologists like Kristin Neff, invites us to treat our own souls with the kindness often reserved for others. It is a practice steeped in recognition of shared humanity and imperfection, reframing setbacks as stepping stones on the unending path of growth. As this inner metamorphosis takes root, a profound sense of self-acceptance blooms, a beacon amidst uncertainty. Embrace fully all elements of oneself, even those draped in shadow, as philosophical existentialism encourages us not to resign, but to recognise and cherish every part of our spectrum. This radical self-acceptance nourishes resilience against judgment, affirming worth as intrinsic, an unwavering constant in the tapestry of being. Emotional resilience, too, emerges as a quiet yet unyielding force, a silent companion on this journey beyond criticism. It offers the capacity to withstand external judgments, transforming adversity into a forge from which deeper self-awareness emerges. Through journaling and reflective practices, we explore Jungian shadows and dance with emotional mastery, fostering an unwavering core where self-worth stands unaffected by external critique. By differentiating constructive feedback from destructive criticism, we navigate interactions with clarity. Constructive feedback, tendered with empathy, encourages growth without diminishing self, while destructive criticism merely cloaks itself in vagueness and judgment. Recognizing this distinction empowers us to embrace feedback that enriches rather than detracts, maintaining sovereignty over our own narrative. Beyond the personal sphere, this inner reclamation transforms relationships, cultivating connections rooted in openness, where communication flourishes without fear. Here, active listening creates space for dialogue, enabling authentic exchanges free from the shadows of judgment. Together, these interactions become sanctuaries, where true self-worth is celebrated, and the tyranny of criticism fades into a whisper of the past. Embarking on this journey of inner freedom is an act of profound courage, a voyage meant to challenge ingrained narratives and embrace self-evolution. With each step forward, we cultivate an internal landscape rich with potential, transforming criticism into a testament of resilience and authentic growth. As you stride upon this path, the voice within can stand tall, serene, and unwavering, proclaiming, above all else, the beauty of a self cherished in its entirety. In the hush of an unobserved glance, neglect slips like a shadow into the corners of our lives. It is not a storm with thunderous cries, but a silent eclipse that dims the light of recognition and connection. Imagine yourself in a crowded room where you stand invisible, waving your arms in a silent plea for attention, yet never breaking the surface of another's awareness. This is neglect, an echo trap within, crafting a void that hungers for acknowledgement, yet remains unseen amidst the tapestry of relationships that should cradle your essence. Over time, the narrative of neglect whispers ancient tales of isolation into the subconscious, softly carving grooves that tell of insignificance. It is a quiet sculptor, chiseling away at confidence until what's left feels more like shadows than substance. In the silence, a belief takes root that perhaps silence itself is what defines adequacy, that voicing one's needs is an unwelcome intrusion. This detachment from self-worth seeps into the foundations of our behaviour, altering interactions, shaping us to fit the mould sculpted by the absence of validation. As neglect embeds itself deeper, the mind begins to mirror its message, learning to invalidate its own feelings. With each unmet gaze, each unheard word, the psyche internalizes a dangerous lesson. That intrinsic value is a mirage. One becomes both the neglected and the neglector, perpetuating a cycle of self-silencing, adapting through perfectionism or people-pleasing, seeking value in the reflection of another's approval rather than within. The emotional realm, left untended, becomes as barren as a landscape starved of rain. Without the nourishment of acknowledgement or encouragement, it becomes difficult to bridge the gap between feeling and expression. Emotional intelligence, that lifeline of awareness and connection, withers. Everyday interactions become fraught with misunderstanding, as emotions morph into volatile guests rather than familiar companions. The pain of this disconnect is not contained within, but spills over, casting shadows on relationships where misunderstanding breeds tension and erects invisible barriers. Emerging from this labyrinth of neglect requires the gentle illumination of active acknowledgement. It is an invitation to turn the gaze inward, to witness one's own plight with the eyes of compassion. By validating feelings and needs, without the harshness of judgment, we break the cycle, providing the care and recognition once denied. This is self-reparenting, a labour of kindness that renews the narrative by affirming that our existence merits attention, love and respect. In this quiet revolution, self-compassion becomes the soft balm for old wounds, embracing imperfections as chapters of a shared human story. Imagine the tender caress of understanding wrapping around the jagged edges of past neglect, nurturing growth and resilience. As we begin to view ourselves with empathy, we dissolve the menacing whispers of internal judgment into murmurs of acceptance. Cultivating presence is paramount, a deliberate anchoring in the now to fend off the ghostly echoes of neglect. It is about engaging with life fully, embracing each moment as it unfolds, like warm sunlight breaking through the mist. In this practice of presence, we confront emotions with openness, allowing them to unfurl naturally, knitting connections within ourselves and with others that are genuine and profound. Setting boundaries rises as a noble act of self-respect, announcing to the world that our needs are not negotiable whispers, but declarations of existence. Boundaries sketch the lines of self-worth and redefine interactions with clarity and calm authority. They say no to what drains and erodes, and yes to what nurtures and aligns with our core values. Reclaiming self-worth calls for a courageous dialogue with the self, challenging old beliefs that once cloaked us in inadequacy. Through introspection and compassion, we dismantle these falsehoods, rewriting our stories with resilience and authenticity, celebrating the dances of light and shadow that we've survived. This strengthens our sense of belonging within and invites us to engage with life from a place of dignity and power. As the tendrils of neglect loosen, the necessity of cultivating supportive relationships becomes evident, crafting a network that mirrors our worth back to us with care and affirmation. In these bonds, rooted in empathy and genuine interest, vulnerability finds a safe sanctuary, and love flows freely. Emerging from neglect is about embracing a wholeness that recognises past experiences as merely sculptors of pieces, not the entirety. It is a journey of integration, meeting oneself with radical acceptance, celebrating both scars and strengths. This sacred path of wholeness transforms past voids into fertile grounds for growth, moving forward with self-love as the beacon that guides us towards a future rich with promise and potential. In the tender dance of human connection, the illusion of protective control often drapes itself in the softest silk, whispering of love and devotion. It presents itself as kindness and concern, a gentle shield against the world's harsh winds. Yet, beneath this veneer, there lurks an insidious current, a desire not to nurture but to control. This protective facade, while appearing tender, quietly suppresses individuality, stifling personal growth like a vine wrapped too tightly around a blooming tree, slowly choking its ability to reach for the sun. To the unassuming eye, this care appears nurturing, a cherished cocoon of safety. Yet it is a double-edged sword, for beneath the surface it conceals a fear of becoming irrelevant, a dread of releasing another into the unknown. Protective care thus becomes a cloak for anxiety, a comfort more for the giver than the receiver. It whispers subtly to its captive, reinforcing notions of inadequacy, hinting that autonomy is a perilous endeavour. This dynamic is particularly potent in familial ties and romantic unions, where the longing for personal freedom finds itself thwarted by the gentle chains of dependency. Overhelping, though born of generous intent, signals a quiet mistrust. It assures stability and support while simultaneously echoing a disquieting refrain. Without intervention, the path is fraught with pitfalls too treacherous to navigate alone. Sadly, this assurance erodes self-belief, reducing the receiver to a passive role, forever prepared for rescue rather than conquest. The essence of growth lies in the challenges unbridled and faced, in the triumphs earned through struggle. Yet overhelping, despite its tender intentions, curtails these opportunities. Unveiling the chains binding one to controlling care demands a brave introspection. These shackles, so delicately woven into the fabric of affection, often remain unseen until one realises the heaviness of their touch. Through heightened awareness and candid reflection, we begin to recognise the moments when choice feels not our own, and personal desires lie buried beneath another's expectations. Breaking free of these invisible bonds calls for dialogue steeped in vulnerability and honesty. It requires one to voice the need for space in which to breathe, to explore, and to discover their own truth beyond the constraints of imposed care. Independence, as it slowly unfurls, challenges the belief that love and reliance are inseparable, fostering a narrative where genuine interdependence not only coexists with, but flourishes from autonomy. True love is a gentle release, an act of granting the beloved room to grow. It is an art form laden with patience and laced with acceptance, daring to trust in the unpredictability of human evolution. Here, space is not about physical distance alone, but an emotional embrace wide enough to allow for missteps that lead to new insights. In releasing control, we cultivate a garden where empowerment and authenticity take root. It is here, within this sacred soil, that relationships deepen and flourish. The journey toward personal sovereignty beckons one to reclaim autonomy, not from the world, but from within. It is a quiet revolution, the internal shift towards a life unbound by another's grip, embracing responsibilities birthed from one's core. Through clear and compassionate boundaries, individuals build an oasis of empowerment where self-trust guides every step. As personal sovereignty takes flight, relationships evolve into sanctuaries of equality and respect. Herein lies not the seeking for permission or approval, but a mutual dance of discovery and support. Engaging on these paths, individuals nourish their connections with integrity and authenticity, welcoming others not as saviours, but as fellow travellers in the shared landscape of growth and possibility. Venturing further into the realm of shared existence, interdependence emerges, a harmonious balance of personal autonomy and collective synergy. It is the recognition that within the dance of life, while we journey in solitude, we also walk together. This dance is a revelation of mutual strength, woven through honest collaboration rather than fear or control. In this framework, support is offered not as a yoke, but as a ladder, celebrating each person's unique journey and synergy. As trust in one's essence grows, so does the tapestry of connection, blossoming with threads of freedom, respect, and co-creation, where authenticity thrives and love endures. Yet the path from control to freedom is paved with the stones of fear, the fear of losing what feels precious. In the releasing of these citadels of control, we face the shadow within love, a tight grip mistaken for care. Embracing the uncertainty inherent in letting go is an invitation to transformation. stepping into a realm of trust and acceptance where real love breathes. Cultivating emotional intelligence becomes pivotal, a guiding star through the complexities of human relationships. This awareness allows us to discern when control masks itself as care and empowers us to replace reaction with understanding, nurturing relationships anchored in respect and mutual growth. Empowerment is the beacon that calls us back to ourselves, instilling the courage to navigate life with an unshakable authenticity. Through this empowerment, relationships recalibrate, shifting focus from protection to possibility, encouraging others to step boldly into their own power. In embracing authenticity, a rich symphony unfolds, a melody of interactions where each note is true to its essence. Within this space, relationships thrive, lifting each individual to soar with the wings of freedom and insight, fostering a unity unburdened by control, illuminating a path toward endless transformation and liberation. In the quiet corridors of our mind where shadows merge with dusk, we occasionally encounter the subtle beast known as passive aggression. It moves softly, cloaked in ambiguous behaviours that glide on whispers of sarcasm, with the chill of the silent treatment, or the sharp sting of backhanded compliments. This quiet disruptor lurks, its veneer polished with innocence and good intentions. Yet beneath this facade, it almost silently erodes the foundation of trust and respect in relationships, whether personal, professional, or communal. As you wander through this ethereal realm, you may find yourself caught in a web of confusion, entangled in doubt about your perceptions, for the passive aggressor wields veiled hostility like an artist's brush, painting over authenticity with shades of ambiguity. The landscape of passive aggression is a psychological minefield where air thickens with unease and a sense of haunting insecurity. Swiftly, what seems benign becomes a conduit for unresolved tensions, leaving genuine communication and understanding secluded behind veils of illusion. Yet those who tread this terrain find their emotional and psychological development stunted, as if walking through a fog that neither lifts nor settles. It simply enshrouds. But recognizing these elusive signs, be it procrastination or veiled humour, becomes the first step on a path lit by awareness. Only under the softened gaze of self-awareness can both the recipient and the provocateur begin to untangle this looping script, seeking clarity over continued confusion. Amid this twilight world, safety, the cornerstone of any healthy rapport, fades into shadow, eclipsed by the constant spectre of the next subtle jab. This continuous dance with uncertainty wraps individuals in a cloak of hypervigilance, thus eroding trust, which becomes a rare and distant dream. Gradually, authenticity wanes, replaced with the masks of social mirage, as all involved entities begin to withhold their truths, fearing further confrontation or retaliation. Is there then a way back to light and warmth from these cold corners of interpersonal interaction? Masks can be dropped, and the veil of indirect hostility pierced by the sharp, clear light of authentic communication. In direct engagement, we unearth shared truths and intentions buried beneath years of avoidance and indirection. Here in the fertile ground of honest conversation, we map a new landscape where paths wind slowly toward understanding and growth, bridging divides formed by fear. With patient and humble inquiry, perception broadens, leading hearts away from evasion towards communion. Yet to embark upon this journey is to tread the delicate balance of assertiveness, where clarity and empathy intertwine. Here, assertiveness acts as the gentle yet unwavering guide, leading us away from aggression, past the precipice of submission, until we alight upon a meadow of fair and equal dialogue. Through this practice, one becomes an architect of connection, shaping realms of respect and understanding. building bridges where stark cliffs once stood. And so those wrapped in passive aggression find the courage to transform their repertoire, communicating not with hints and whispers, but with clarity and purpose. Emotional intelligence then swells as both shield and key, unlocking resilience within these interactions. By attuning to the subtle melodies of their own emotions, participants can rise above reactionary tides, choosing calm reflection and thoughtful action. With this, a profound self-awareness emerges, revealing triggers and motivations in their true form. This revelation nurtures not just a personal growth spurt, but cultivates an environment where empathy unfurls its petals, fostering richer human exchanges steeped in mutual recognition. Through this newfound clarity, direct dialogue becomes the sacred harbinger of healing, threading connections that turn discomfort into a catalyst for change, a space where concerns are aired and grievances addressed with the love they deserve. Trust blooms again as power dynamics ebb away like old echoes, allowing partners to navigate the terrain of their shared narrative with grace. This marks a shift, a collective remembrance of togetherness, reaffirming connection over division. Ultimately, beneath the layers of passive aggression lies a profound potential for transformation. Embarking upon this journey, individuals confront not only their shadows, but the very roots of their relational patterns, becoming alchemists of their own experience. As they rewrite the stories of their interactions, they create a tapestry of unity and authenticity, woven together with threads of understanding and respect. Each choice they make, each word they utter, sharpens into a brushstroke along the canvas of their relational journey, transforming what was once an oppressive weight into an abundant garden of shared growth and enduring connection. In the hushed whispers of the psyche, projection emerges as a silent companion, cloaked in shadows. It is a delicate dance where the mind transports its unspoken intricacies, the thoughts and emotions it dares not claim, onto others. Imagine, if you will, the gentle unfolding of a world where individual shadows are cast externally, each more complex than the last. Jung's teachings guide us into the mystical landscape where we confront tensions hidden within. It's like painting with invisible ink, where each brushstroke conceals unheeded desires and vulnerabilities. Picture how, in the theatre of life, individuals mirror these hidden conflicts onto those around them. It's a distortion woven into the fabric of relationships, colouring interactions with shades of misunderstanding and quiet discord. Consider the moment when accusation slips into conversation, perhaps unfounded yet fiercely felt. In these moments, projection is at play, transforming a partner into a character in one's hidden drama. Through this lens, reality distorts, drawing others into unspoken tales of disquiet that perhaps never should have been theirs to bear. Yet even amid this turmoil lies a cloaked opportunity for growth, a tranquil river flowing beneath the surface of appearances. Delving into self-reflection can illuminate subcurrents that once seemed inscrutable, offering a path away from blame and toward understanding. It involves patiently disentangling the threads, binding patterns of accusation, tracing the lines back to their beginnings. The journey is like traversing an ancient forest, each step a revelation, with the heart as the compass. This passage demands vulnerability, the courage to shed defence and stand bare before one's truth, fostering communication rooted in empathy and openness. Imagine the shadow self as a mysterious figure at the fringes of consciousness, vigilantly overlooked. Jung speaks of these silently lurking dimensions of the psyche, the prejudice stowed away as we navigate the rigours of life. The shadow contains not just our frailties, but potential, waiting beneath the surface. Embracing this revelation invites the self into unity, restoring pieces lost to the edges of awareness. It's an odyssey within one's depths, a solemn pilgrimage toward wholeness, an unveiling of sightless realms within. Thus, consider projection as a canvas stretched across the vastness of human connection. When we paint others with our unclaimed shades, it is both a deflection and an opportunity. When we pause, we step back from the vivid murals of our assumptions, softening our gaze to see not fault but familiarity. Each projection becomes less an accusation and more an entryway leading inward, illuminating paths hidden within. Here, judgment gives way to introspection, a transformation like the softening of dusk. This shift beckons a new way of engaging, where reactions dissolve into mercy. Embrace this curiosity as an invitation to place aside one's armour, allowing fear and resistance to alchemize into a quest for understanding. Through such internal mapping, projection's tendrils retract and self-compassion flourishes, encouraging a reconciling meeting within the self's disparate realms. In this story of projection lies a reflection on the profound dance between shadow and existence. Within existential philosophy, we encounter echoes of projection, a call to meet life uncloaked in illusion. Here stands the human soul at a crossroads, challenged to transcend avoidance, to embrace imperfection as truth's ally. It is within this embrace that the clamour of blame bows to the quietude of authenticity, and reality becomes a ceaseless exploration. Emerge from this existential tapestry to redirect the currents of projection into a river of potential. Acknowledge the energy lying dormant, awaiting transformation. It's a sacred fire, the kind that fuels a profound expedition. A discovery of self and soul that guides us through uncharted territories within. From this flame, an alchemist's art emerges, recasting avoidance into introspection that unveils the beauty of the unknown. Consider now the sanctity of mutual awareness, an awakening that blooms within shared spaces. Through dialogue quilted with trust, relationships become sanctuaries, a shared journey beyond the veils drawn by projection. It is a journey toward a place where shadows meet the light of mutual understanding. A co-created reality woven into being by the souls involved. As we stride along this path, the energy bound in projection shifts form, echoing change and symbolising growth. Herein lies the dance with shadows, a dance inscribed with the song of humanity's perpetual longing to meet oneself whole and to greet others with grace. For in this tale of shadows and light, we find not only solace but a map to transformation, inviting each to paint a world anew, woven from threads of truth and illuminated by the quiet grace of acceptance. In the delicate weave of human connection, there lies a silent spectre known as stonewalling, a quiet siege that disrupts the gentle flow of empathy. Imagine a gentle hand slowly withdrawing from your grasp, leaving you in a twilight of solitude. This withdrawal might appear benign, a simple turning away during a dispute, a lull in the conversation, yet it stealthily chips away at the sacred foundation of trust. It is an invisible barrier, casting those left in its wake into a limbo of unspoken words and unheard cries. The shadows of this silence stretch far beyond the moment of withdrawal, embedding deep into the soul of the forgotten. When repeatedly met with an emotional wall, the heart hears only the echo of rejection, a denial of one's reality that whispers insidiously. undermining self-esteem and breeding uncertainty. Affected individuals swim through currents of loneliness and confusion, endlessly questioning their worthiness of love and connection. In this dance of withdrawal, open communication suffocates, inviting missteps that choke the breath of intimacy, essential for nurturing resilient relationships. The void left by stonewalling is akin to a vast, echoing cavern of abandonment, where primal fears of isolation take root. Humans, social creatures by nature, are wired for connection, and the withholding of emotional presence is a withdrawal that feels like an eclipse, casting shadows where there once was light. As the stonewaller recedes into shadow, the left-behind partner wrestles with a chorus of unresolved tensions and unvoiced aches, spiralling into a cycle of inner turmoil. In this chasm of silence thrives a profound dissonance, like a mirror fractured by a discordant note. Those on the receiving end of stonewalling teeter on an emotional precipice, searching desperately for a lifeline that never materializes. As the calls for empathy fall into the void, they may begin to see this neglect as a personal failing. The toll unfolds subtly, as anxiety and a pervasive sense of inadequacy haunt their steps, setting the stage for a relationship steeped in avoidance and fear. Yet within this understanding of emotional abandonment lies the seed for self-compassion and the courage to seek healing dialogues. Herein enters empathy, a salve for the wounds inflicted by emotional isolation. Empathy transcends the barriers of silence, reaching beyond the walls with gentle fingers. It is not simply hearing, but attending to the song of another's unexpressed melodies with tender care. Through empathy's embrace, the icy walls of stonewalling can begin to thaw, revealing pathways of understanding and reconciliation. The cultivation of empathy demands intentional practices, requiring both self-reflection and outward concern. It beckons us to listen deeply, bearing witness without judgment, offering a safe haven for the storm-tossed emotions of others. In this empathetic space, vulnerability finds a cradle, allowing for interactions where both are seen, heard, and valued. Empathy transforms static communication into vibrant exchanges, a dance that leads towards shared growth and healing. Mindful dialogues emerge as vessels for reunion, mending the rips torn by stonewalling. Grounded in attentive presence, these dialogues are shared commitments to honesty, a gentle ritual that invites openness. In these exchanges, words flow without accusations, carried by the current of deep listening and thoughtful response. Here, both souls slow down, shedding the frenetic pace of everyday interactions, weaving a tapestry of mutual understanding and respect. Through active listening, individuals articulate their feelings with clarity, enhancing their capacity for vulnerability and, ultimately, for deeper emotional connection. They venture forward, expressing emotions without blame, using I to own their truths, preserving the sacred boundaries of the other. Mindful dialogues transform meetings from confrontational standoffs into enlightening encounters full of potential for healing and reconciliation. Mutual presence arises as a gentle art, beckoning us to remain open-hearted even in the face of discord. Here is a journey of sustaining connection, an invitation to choose companionship over isolation. Mutual presence defies the urge to retreat, affirming the rich value of shared experience. It asks each to be fully there, inhabiting their emotions while respecting the landscape of another's soul. Within the nurturing of mutual presence lies a relentless commitment to honesty. It builds trust, slowly mending what stonewalling had unravelled, solidifying foundations rooted in empathy and shared understanding. As partners learn to truly be present, they foster a resilience unyielding in the face of future tempests, transforming moments of potential fracture into visions of unity. Emotional resilience becomes the heartstone of lasting, nourishing connections, empowering individuals to navigate the intricacies of relationship without faltering into silence. This resilience, like a garden, is cultivated through conscious practice. It invites us to embrace discomfort, confronting challenges as doorways to growth and evolution. Resilience fosters self-awareness and emotional regulation, creating a wellspring of strength that sustains love's endeavour. When partners embrace this fortitude, they build a sanctuary where challenges are met with curiosity and empathy, banishing the shadows of stonewalling, replaced by collaborative problem-solving and mutual support. Through simple rituals, shared meditations, regular check-ins, we find pathways back to each other, anchoring ourselves with predictability amidst life's unpredictability. These rituals, woven into the rhythm of daily life, cultivate the sacred space where trust blooms anew. With intention, partners navigate conflict with grace, transcending the limitations imposed by past withdrawal. Ultimately, stonewalling falls to active engagement, a choice to remain connected even amid conflict. Here lies a gentle courage, asking for open discourse rather than retreat, cultivating a space of shared learning. By choosing engagement, partners weave a tapestry of understanding and resilient connection, transforming avoidance into rich, authentic presence. The journey towards forgiveness threads through these connections, acting as a catalyst for peace and reconciliation. As we forgive, the weight of past grievances lightens, unfettering relationships to flourish anew, a testament to the enduring power of love and understanding. In the quiet corners of our hearts, envy arrives like a whisper, a gentle yet insidious murmur that distorts our perception of reality. It sneaks in through the back doors of admiration, subtly changing the way we view ourselves through the lens of others' achievements. Just as a vine twists silently around a tree, it intertwines with our insecurities, often unnoticed until it tightens its grip. We gaze upon others' triumphs and mistakenly believe their success minimises our own, a shadow that casts doubt and diminishes self-worth. Yet to untangle these binds, we first begin by acknowledging envy's presence, understanding that its roots take hold in the unattended soil of vulnerability. In relationships, envy builds invisible walls, turning admiration to resentment. What starts as genuine praise can become twisted with bitterness, causing us to belittle those we once revered. Instead of forging bonds, envy creates chasms filled with unwarranted distrust and skewed perceptions, tainting joyous moments with a lingering bitterness. To address this, we must shine the light of self-awareness on these darker corners of our psyche, transforming shadows into insights, breathing life and wisdom into what was once subdued by insecurity. Like wildfire through dry underbrush, envy spreads stealthily, touching every facet of our interactions. It infiltrates workplaces, family gatherings, and friendships, often morphing into quiet rivalry or hidden conflict. This silent contagion clouds our judgment, colouring our perceptions with suspicion, turning kind gestures into seeming insincerities. As it settles in, opportunities for genuine connection slip away, replaced by defensive distance. In the glare of social media, this erosion amplifies as we compare our realities to curated snapshots of others' lives, unwittingly counting their highlights as our own shortcomings. The journey toward liberation begins by discerning truth from illusion, practicing humility, and choosing to celebrate victories beyond our own, thus reclaiming joy. Unaddressed, envy hardens into resentment, a potent poison that consumes compassion and turns love into competitive hostility. It siphons energy from creation, redirecting it toward futile comparisons and imagined slights, trapping us in a cycle of bitterness and self-sabotage. We come to see ourselves as victims of an unfair world, shackled by a belief in scarcity over abundance. Yet, the shackles we wear are of our own making. By confronting this toxic burden, we open the door to healing, and peace finds a way to coexist with impermanence, revealing growth through every act of letting go. From this juncture of envy and inspiration, we stand at a crossroads. The decision to transform envy into a source of motivation is a powerful one, shifting perceptions of others' successes from threats to opportunities for personal growth. The recognition of untapped potential in another's achievements can become the spark that ignites our own journey of creation and change. Within us, a quiet revolution begins, a gentle shift toward embracing diversity in paths, asking, "What can I learn?" instead of "Why not me?" In this new perspective, envy becomes a catalyst, energizing our passage towards empowerment and illuminated self-discovery. Boundaries, like silent guardians, protect the sacred space within from the invasive tendrils of envy and unchecked comparison. They delineate where external expectations end and where personal understanding begins, creating a safe haven for authentic introspection. Rather than fortresses, boundaries signify the lines where others' energies are met with gentle detachment, fostering relationships free from overshadowing comparisons. As we honour these limits, we affirm our right to contentment rooted in self-awareness, finding allies in silence and solitude that nurture reflection and realignment with our true desires. Gratitude is the gentle balm that soothes envy's burn, expanding horizons once narrowed by a fixation on lack. By shifting focus to the abundance already present, we invite a deep sense of appreciation for both the grand and subtle blessings life offers. This practice, nurtured with intentionality, builds emotional resilience, liberating us to acknowledge our own and others' achievements with generous hearts. In choosing gratitude, we rewrite narratives from scarcity to fullness, allowing for growth beyond competition, embracing life's complexities with grace. Equipped with mindful detachment, we see clearly through the fog, dissolving envy with understanding. It is a practice not of avoidance, but of observing life without the chains of judgment, appreciating the uniqueness of every journey. Detachment grants us the serenity to assess our paths against an internal compass rather than societal measures, fostering genuine compassion toward all. As we ground ourselves in this awareness, we trust in the unfolding of life, anchored by humility in a dance with life that offers wisdom beyond momentary envies. In this transformative journey, self-compassion lights the way inward, where gentle acceptance supplants the harsh tones of criticism. This nurturing stance allows us to embrace our full complexities, reminding ourselves that we are perpetually evolving and worthy of tenderness, even amidst envy's shadows. We soothe these raw edges with understanding, fostering resilience that arises from an intrinsic truth, a recognition that our worth is woven from our own fabric, not from the threadbare comparisons foisted upon us. Ultimately, a tapestry of rituals grounds this evolution, with journaling and meditation laying the framework for reflection and growth. In these sacred spaces, we explore the origins of envy, transforming insights into affirming realities. Through quiet moments of contemplation, we let gratitude guide us, fostering a rhythm that not only steadies us but also enriches the soul's journey. As we embrace our singular path, envy becomes a stepping stone, its energy transmuted into a deeper, celebratory engagement with life's abundance. In this gentle unfolding, we not only find wholeness but dance joyfully with the essence of life itself. In the hushed corridors of the heart where shadows and whispers conspire, emotional blackmail weaves its elusive web. It is a binding spell, cast not with dramatic gestures, but with the delicate threads of fear, obligation, and guilt. Like a phantom lurking in twilight, it preys upon vulnerabilities, encouraging actions against one's will to appease a hidden tyrant. These invisible chains are forged from the bygone bonds of trust and affection, now twisted into delicate snares. Emotional dependency intertwines with love's tender echoes, rendering recognition of this dance of domination and submission as elusive as catching moonlight in cupped palms. Fear, obligation, and guilt are the dark triad that anchors these ethereal chains to the soul. Fear looms large, and not merely the fear of physical harm, but the spectre of lost connection, tarnished reputation, or the relentless intrusion of criticism. It lingers like a chill, urging avoidance, pushing one towards the path of least resistance. Obligation whispers insistently, remember what you owe, the favours, the kindnesses bestowed. It is a subtle invocation of indebtedness and history, urging compliance as repayment. Guilt insinuates itself into the mind, a sly accuser casting doubt on your moral compass, sowing seeds of self-recrimination for daring to resist. Together they form a triad as binding as Bacchus's vines. The art of this control is neither fierce nor violent. It is the insidious caress of soft coercion, gentle yet unyielding. The blackmailer does not raise a hand. Instead, they use their voice, their silence, and their gaze. Demands are cloaked as requests, ultimatums wrapped neatly in concern. Beneath the guise of care, I worry for you. There lies a threat, buried like a serpent in tall grass. The unassuming nature of it makes the victim question their misgivings, blending them with truth until the outline of coercion blurs like a distant mountain shrouded in fog. These machinations leave distinct prints upon the soul, a confusion that settles in like a slow dawn. Self-blame clouding the mind like morning mist. The cycles of manipulation are as predictable as the tides. Demands grow steadily, testing defences until they collapse. It begins with tender nudges, small transgressions that expand into overt control. The emotional aftermath, a sense of exhaustion, a dance of punishment and forgiveness, of rescue followed by abandonment, reveals the script's ancient nature. Yet, in identifying these patterns, liberation becomes a real, albeit arduous, possibility. The scars left by emotional blackmail are profound. They are the quiet whispers of self-doubt, the slow erosion of self-esteem, the haunting echoes of past manipulations. Chronic anxiety mingles with depression like old friends at a fireside, and worthlessness becomes an unwanted companion. But understanding the misplaced guilt and acknowledging that the blackmailer's actions are their own opens the door for healing. Therapy, gentle self-care, and a nurturing support network serve as lanterns illuminating the path out of these shadows. Reclaiming autonomy from such treacherous clutches is an act of monumental courage. The quiet power of no becomes a declaration of freedom, a sturdy raft on turbulent seas. At first, it may falter under the weight of guilt and intensified pressure, but with each repetition, it strengthens the backbone and fortifies the spirit. To utter no is to state unequivocally enough, and to begin the wondrous process of disentangling from manipulation's web. Within this newfound resolve, emotional resilience is nursed to life. It's a garden of fortitude cultivated through mindful self-awareness and the nurturing light of supportive relationships. These allies remind one of their innate value, like mirrors reflecting truths long hidden. Resilience grows daily, the practice of mindfulness and meditation deepening its roots, fortified by journaling's honest introspections. As its tendrils spread, the hold of emotional blackmail loosens, and what was once vulnerability blossoms into a serene self-reliance. This journey of transformation, this path toward sovereignty, is sacred. It meanders inward, requiring the shedding of old skins and the nurturing of new growth. It calls for meditation upon one's worth, a serenade of self-compassion, a celebration of authenticity. As healers, therapists, and kindred spirits guide the way, the wisdom of self-compassion becomes an enduring ally, transforming setbacks into opportunities for rebirth. Assertiveness becomes the shield and sword in this tender battle. To stand firm is not to fight, but simply to be, rooted in one's truth, unswayed by the winds of manipulation. It's the steady pulse beneath daily interactions, a gentle yet resolute declaration that respect is mutual or not at all. And with each assertive stand, relationships reorient themselves, realigning with the stars of respect and understanding. Thus, the journey unfolds, carrying the soul from the dim rooms of emotional blackmail into a new dawn, a dawn where the choices are their own, marked by possibility and coloured by the vibrant hue of self-determination, inviting the dance of a life that is truly and serenely theirs. In the gentle embrace of night, we find ourselves upon a quiet path, a journey into the sacred art of boundaries, an exploration where personal sovereignty unfolds like the petals of a moonlit lotus. Boundaries, in their essence, are not mere barricades against the world. They are the sacred lines of personal dignity and self-respect, whispering the contours of who we truly are. These veils of ourselves mark the realm of our values and the silent promises we make to engage with the world. In the delicate dance of psychology, boundaries emerge as declarations of personal sovereignty, free from the shadows of selfishness or the chill of isolation. Instead, they stand as guides for interactions steeped in mutual recognition and the gentle embracing of humanity. To set a boundary is to step into vulnerability, cloaked in clarity and courage. It is a declaration of our innermost needs and the quiet assertion of our place on this earth, a step towards the individuation of which Carl Jung so often spoke. Boundaries are the spaces that distinguish the self from the world, crafting genuine connections that supplement rather than define our journey. In the echoes of existence, the power of saying no breathes as a quiet liberation, an overlooked whisper often drowned in the roar of conformity. The fear of rejection, the hypnotic pull of agreeable nods, lure us into acquiescing to the world's demands, leaving our deepest truths in silent shadows. Yet, the wisdom lives here. To say no is to utter a complete sentence, one without the weight of justification or apology. It is an act of self-respect, a turning point that invites us to embrace authenticity, reject guilt, born of masquerading and empathy, and release its chain around your spirit. For in saying no without guilt, we anchor ourselves in authenticity, a life coloured by truth, where each no is not a negation but a courageous affirmation, a gentle stand where our inner truths sing. And just as no shields our spirit, yes is the tender bridge opening pathways of exploration. When spoken from alignment with our heart's desires, yes becomes an act of claiming agency, each utterance a brushstroke painting the masterpiece of our life. It calls for discernment, transforming automatic compliance into intentional affirmations, crafting our lives into a vivid tapestry where growth dances in every thread. Yet boundaries, firm and gentle, draw their strength from an unshakable foundation, our understanding of inherent worth. In acknowledging this inner value, we nurture the dignity that remains untouched by external conditions. In the search for acceptance, we often barter fragments of our soul, leaving us scattered upon winds of approval. Here, in this quiet reclamation of self-worth, we find strength to fortify our being, a beacon guiding us against the storm of judgment. In setting boundaries, we become whistleblowers of the soul, voicing truth against the silence of intrusion. This metaphorical whistleblowing's not for conflict, but a call to stand against complacency that allows toxic behaviours to thrive. It is an act of unwavering courage and introspection, confronting the conditioning that stifles our inner voice, a herald of change in the dance of relationships. Boundaries, too, speak as acts of sacred self-care, a nurturing embrace for the self. They become sanctuaries of peace, where the garden of our heart is tended with rituals of reflection. Here, boundaries guard against the chaos of demands, fostering a space for growth that blooms from within. In understanding boundaries as care, we honour the silent need for solitude, weaving through us a resilience to face life's challenges with grace. Dialogue, in its gentle unfolding, becomes the bridge between self-awareness and shared understanding. Through clear articulation, boundaries transform potential conflicts into moments of mutual growth. It begins in the quiet chambers of the self, distilling needs into colours of coherent, assertable affirmations. As dialogue spills into the external world, it becomes the thread weaving the fabric of trust and respect, inviting others to honour autonomy and connection. Yet resistance lies often in the wake of change, a natural shadow in the boundaries' light. This resistance in transformation holds the seed of acceptance. Met with empathy and resolve, it reshapes the fabric of interaction, offering spaces where integrity fills the air we breathe. Through patience and understanding, we transform resistance into acceptance, birthing healthier connections from threads once tangled in doubt. Amid this transformation, rituals of reflection guide us, forming rhythms that attune us to our evolving selves. Boundaries like the night sky shift and change, illumined by the stars of our core beliefs. Through practices of introspection, journaling, meditation, quiet communion, we refine our boundaries to align with who we are becoming, each shift a note in the symphony of our life. As we integrate boundaries into our lives, freedom whispers its promise, a life lived whole, where authenticity thrives alongside deep connection. These boundaries, once felt as limitations, now reveal themselves as pillars of liberation, where each no and yes harmonizes in the symphony of existence. Embodying this liberation, we become architects of destiny, a legacy where personal evolution stands hand in hand with the liberation of unconditional boundaries. This is the serene liberation, a call to live fully, where the self meets the world in a dance of harmony. As our journey draws to a close, if these reflections have stirred something within you, we invite you to like, share and subscribe, joining us again in further explorations of the soul.